Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys, trader and technical analyst. I'm getting over a fever still, so we're going to do a bit more of a concise video today, but we need to check in on crypto and the markets. A lot of red out there. Let's get to it. We'll start with the NASDAQ. And we got to start with the NASDAQ because sentiment and correlation definitely matters. You know, I've been saying that a long time if you've been following along. And we have a significant dump from the all-time high at this point. We are in daily oversold conditions. But what's going to matter the most for me longer term, right? We want to know bigger picture. Is the cycle done? Are we about to enter a bear market in crypto? And one of the most important things for me is the monthly time frame, because if you look at every period of monthly consolidation that we've seen over the last 2 years, we've held monthly EMA 12. We held it here, we held it here, and now we're well below it, but we got another 20 days before the month closes. So the question is, where do we close relative to that EMA? If we close below it, I'll say, okay, things are different than they've been in the last 2 years. That's definitely a warning signal. We'll then be watching, the possibility of a monthly head and shoulders for a longer term top being set. But with where we stand right now, the bulls would need to get a bounce going of about 4 to 5% by the end of the month to keep that EMA 12 as support. And we're likely to see a short-term bounce sooner rather than later, but there's plenty of space for that daily lower high. So again, that context matters because if the broader market is selling off, then we're going to expect weakness to continue in crypto. Bitcoin is hitting fresh lows. So the last live stream that we did was after this big bounce. And you'll remember me saying, big bounces are nice, but in downtrends, big bounces can just set lower highs. And if we do not confirm a trend change, nothing changes. We retraced a significant portion of that bounce. We set a lower high, and we have now broken bear. I like to identify whatever time frame, whether it's the 4-hour, the weekly, depends on the setup, depends on the name. Sometimes it's on the 2-minute time frame. I like to identify something and say, where I can say nothing changes until this happens. And what I have for Bitcoin right now on the shorter term is the 12-hour. When's the last time Bitcoin has confirmed a clear 12-hour higher low and higher high? It has not happened since back here. That was January. So that means we have now gone, what's the date? We have now gone 5 weeks plus 5.5 weeks without confirming a 12-hour uptrend. And where we stand right now, we're in a 12-hour stair-step drop. We know the next time we bounce, we are very likely to set a 12-hour lower high as a result of that bounce. And here we are testing lows right now. So that's my guide. If you want to be a patient bull, you're not doing anything until we confirm a 12-hour uptrend, because every single drop will be just the same. I should say every single bounce will be just the same if we don't confirm the 12-hour uptrend. So with this current new leg down that we're seeing as I speak, we're still watching our previous resistance zone to try and hold as support, and that's down 72 to 74. And that's what we're looking at. Similar to what I said on the NASDAQ monthly, look at Bitcoin's monthly EMA 12. Now the NASDAQ had held it multiple times. Bitcoin only held it once, but here we are testing it. And during this period of consolidation, holding monthly EMA 12 kept us confident that that was a bull flag that was forming. So that's an important one for me as well, and that right now is at 75.5. So essentially aligning with that 72 to 74 zone. Remember that when you are in a downtrend on the weekly and daily time frame, which we are in, oversold RSI is much less meaningful. In fact, it's more, you want to be using overbought RSI. So again, backburners are not just for oversold conditions. Look at this backburner on Bitcoin, 15-minute overbought. We hit that at 84,000. And here we are getting fresh lows. And that marked a 4-hour lower high. When you are in a strong trend, short-term RSI levels hitting overbought or oversold, indicating longer-term higher lows or lower highs are how we use RSI. But it has to be a strong prevailing trend on a bunch of time frames. And right now, that is on the daily and weekly time frame for the bears. So this is the kind of setup where you have to ask yourself, do you want to be aggressive or conservative? Aggressive bulls are okay. They're looking for entries into extremes and into weakness. But if you're looking to be conservative or patient, again, there's no trades to be had here until the bulls prove something or give us a new level to be going off of. Otherwise, you're waiting for perhaps that lower $70,000 range. Is this a cycle top? I need a confirmed monthly downtrend to be confident to say something like that. Back here, we had a monthly, this was still a monthly uptrend, higher low, higher high, no follow through, lower high, there's your bear flag, lower low. By the time the monthly downtrend confirmed, that was at 33,000. And you're already down 50% plus from that high. That's way too late of a signal to be acting on, which is why I always prefer to be scaling out partial positions into strength and euphoria, not caring if I leave some money on the table. And that's why I ended up selling a bunch of my, well, not a bunch, I wish. That's why I ended up selling 20% of my long-term no-touch crypto positions from 7-8 years ago at 105 on Bitcoin, 105,000. Because if we're going to confirm a monthly downtrend, what could that look like? Maybe we drop down to 72, and then we bounce to 90, and then we roll over and confirm a monthly downtrend. Again, at that point, you're already 30% plus off the highs by the time you get a longer term signal that things are, red flags. So establish your game plans. As far as altcoins are concerned, the dominance chart, as I keep saying, alt bulls aren't doing anything as long as we keep setting weekly higher lows. And we did just build a base. We almost lost the weekly higher low, but it held. And so the dominance is still staying in control of the bulls, which means Bitcoin is still stronger than the altcoins. And as you've heard me say, if you've been following along many times over the last 6+ months during this Bitcoin bull cycle, I do not think we're going to get an alt season anything comparable to 2021. The reasons being, that was the ideal scenario. CVID, stay at home, get your checks, play around day trading. That was best case possible scenario for markets in general. And so, that was not a very high conviction call. That was not me saying sell all your altcoins, but ideally, hopefully, that just got people in the mindset, okay, I should have a game plan where I don't get crushed if that is indeed true. And just so many of these altcoins look terrible. They just look in complete bear control. And we're going to look at some of those. First, we'll look at the names that are holding on a bit better. But I'll give you an example of some of the very clear bearish names that already do. Some of them already do have monthly downtrends confirmed. ETH doesn't look good. To double top here and then break monthly support is a big red flag. I wish I unloaded a bunch more of my long-term ETH position. I sold some in the lower 30, maybe 32, 33s, but here we are falling apart. And honestly, at this point, you just got to keep zooming out because we're getting a 6-month equilibrium. And I thought the entirety of the crypto market might do this a year ago or a year and a half ago, however long ago. I thought this might be a scenario that everything does this, but ETH is doing it where we've got our low, high, higher low, lower high, and we're going to scout a higher low compared to 880, but we could potentially be within this range-bound pattern for years. It's a possibility. So again, you just have to prepare for that possibility. Best case scenario is we set a 6-month higher low compared to 880 real soon, and then this tightening range breaks bull. That's a possible scenario. But again, you show me this chart and you say, what's the most likely scenario? I say, keep tightening up. And there's a lot of space within that range. So again, in the short term for ETH, when's the last time ETH has confirmed a clear daily uptrend? I mean, this was a very weak one here, but we'll say it's been 3 weeks since we have just lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. We're almost heading towards weekly oversold conditions. When's the last time that's happened? It did mark a longer term bottom when it did happen. So best case for bulls, if we stay weak here, weekly oversold, marking a 6-month higher low. That's when we set that 880 level, was in weekly oversold conditions. But again, an ETH BTC just free fall still. That's been the case for a long time now. XRP is breaking $2 as we speak. It's getting ugly for alts again. After an ugly day, we just opened these new candles here 37 minutes ago, and it's already big red. So XRP, this is a key support level. Again, XRP is standing out as a stronger name, but we are on the verge. If we break 190, we're just looking at that flush low of 172. And again, zoomed out, there is a lot of space for a monthly higher low, but this is a pretty important support zone that the bulls definitely want to maintain. And as we know with altcoins, these altcoin bounces aren't going anywhere unless Bitcoin sees a significant bounce as well. And in my opinion, Bitcoin's not going to see any kind of significant bounce unless the NASDAQ sees a significant bounce. I've always felt that, the crypto market is beholden to the NASDAQ in fear. When there's a lack of fear, correlation's much more willy-nilly. People are much more willing to put their money around. Correlations really sync up when there is fear, and we have fear right now. This is the most significant fear that we've had. I mean, the NASDAQ hasn't seen this, and the daily RSI isn't crushed, but we haven't seen this daily oversold drop in 3 years. Sol is another one that's testing a key support level. Again, this long-term base, 110 to 120, and here we are approaching that 110 level. So if you told me I have to make some attempts at some longs, I'm choosing the names that have a key clear support level nearby rather than names that are in free fall. But again, it's not the market environment where I'm looking to be an aggressive bull right now. I would rather miss, a move off the low and then have a new clear level to be going off of and have the bulls proving something and get in a bit higher, but the bull momentum is at my back, rather than buying and potentially bag holding or having the position go against you early on into the entry of your trade. I would rather wait for some sign from the bulls. And that's just my more conservative style right now. Back in 2017, I was buying weakness left and right, scaling in, but it all depends on where you're at as a trader. So let's just look at the altcoin list real quick and look at the long-term monthly charts as we wrap it up. So again, I just don't see anything bullish about a lot of these charts. QNT heading back down towards some lows. Theta, lowest level in a year plus. That's a confirmed monthly downtrend on Theta. Link still looking for a monthly higher low, but again, there's a lot of space for monthly lower highs from here. FET, monthly downtrend confirmed. And you look at this and say, no alt season, but you have to keep in mind a bunch of these. I mean, this is a FET here ran 1,800% in 7 months. some of these things, SUI ran 1,000% in 5 months. That's an alt season as far as I'm concerned. Is it comparable to 2021? No. 2017? No, probably not. But again, one of the major reasons I don't think this alt season pattern continues, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I can, call myself out and say, look how wrong I was. But to have a scheduled life-changing opportunity in markets just happen again and again and again, markets don't work that way. And, even Bitcoin's diminishing returns with its 4-year cycles. And I've given the opinion before that, in my opinion, there's going to be a Bitcoin halving cycle that is all bears, and it's going to completely catch a ton of people by surprise. So just be aware that, you maybe your coins didn't see big moves, but for a bunch of coins went 500 to thousands of percent. And don't even get me started on the memes and all that. Maybe the meme percentage runs ate up the possibility of an altcoin, I should say an alt season. I mean, we went hundreds of percent in a handful of months. But it's just not looking good. And I make posts on Twitter and someone says, this is what capitulation looks like, But it's also, if I were saying, get ready for alt season, and now I was throwing in the towel and saying, it's not coming, that would be capitulation. But that's not the case. So again, just plan for every scenario and don't get yourself in trouble. 1 month, XLM, 600%. That's an alt season. Yeah, it's fast and quick. It's not 5,000%. It's not free life-changing opportunities. But anyways, I wish you the best. Plan for everything. Here comes Bitcoin monthly EMA 12 test. A lot of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. Just keep in mind we can bounce 10% and not even get close to the last daily lower high. That last daily lower high is now 20% back to the upside. What's my plan with the rest of my long-term no-touch positions? I'm holding them. They're risk-free at this point. It's all profit, so, whatever. Maybe I'll sell some more in another 5-6 years. We'll see. But I will not sell those into fear. I will only sell those into euphoria. Would have liked to have gotten more off, but I did not have high conviction. Again, it was just, if the president's going to launch a meme coin, and if that's going to mark a cycle top, and I don't act on it, I would have a very hard time living with myself. So it's not game over yet for Bitcoin, but bulls need to have plans. Need to have plans for all scenarios. I hope you're well. Do good things. Thanks for likes and shares, and we'll see you soon.